Hello, all. Thursday, April 27th. Wanted to address what happened today. Um, let's take a look at futures real quick. Here's what happened today. We came into the 50-day moving average yesterday, and it held, and we got a heck of a squeeze that we weren't ready for. Nobody was ready for, and that's why it happened. Look on the 15-minute chart here. We played some pretty good puts. I said April 26th, 404 puts, and we got there. Too early to make much of anything. But if you look at the 50 on the 15-minute, you'll see here it was support here, resistance, support, kind of, support, resistance, and then ultimately the last 2 days were heavy resistance, heavy selling, and then we had some earnings. Was that Microsoft earnings? I think pushed us back up. We crossed overnight, came down and retested it in pre-market, and just didn't turn back. Right. Let's look at SPY. It's unfortunate that we did not take this pullback here. I said a double top of 408.80 would be good for puts. The reason for that is because that would be this breakdown candle. They were retesting that to see if they could close above it. They like to test these things, these kinds of things. They like to walk back up, and so they got there. They retested, and but they couldn't close above it. They couldn't take it out, right? So they started to reverse, and that is quite a reversal candle there. That really was. However, you get down to the 5-minute, we can see we missed something here. And actually, this is why I said if we could hold 408.50 area, what was resistance became support, and became a heck of a support area, and just didn't stop for the rest of the day. So my bad for not saying anything, I guess. But who expected a 2% day after a couple days like this, right? Interestingly, we've been talking about this 365-day moving average that nobody else tends to notice except for us. For support, resistance, and interestingly, that's where we stopped today. On it, we stopped there. They could have stopped here. They could have stopped here. They could have stopped here. But they stopped right there. This is where we shorted last time when they came up to the 365 and got rejected. And we started to look bearish, right? We started to get in bearish. And the reason for that was because of this trend line. If I can draw tonight. This trend line that was broke, that became resistance at the 365, and that was perfect. It was perfect, right? Well, we have also, I know you'll have to see through the lines here. Let's go to SPX to clean it up a little bit. Here's the 365-day moving average. Right, here's the 50. That's why we bounced, because the computers came in and they just started buying, right? The computers say when it comes down to the 50, we buy that for a rip in the other direction, right? So we could see a move similar to this because we had our curl and then bounce. We've had a curl and a bounce. We could very well do that and get up here to our 43.32, 43.32, wherever you are, area, which is where they came up short of last time, right? That was our number for this big move down, and they came up a little bit short, but they got in that general area. And as you see on the daily, they stopped at the 365. So there's something to this 365 here, and I want you to pay attention to it, because it looks like, to me, every time they get to it, they sell off. What happened right here? You got to look at each candle. Say, okay, so this one, they got above it and they sold off, right? They came down here, they opened here, they got above it and they sold off. They got above it and rejected. They couldn't get to it, they got to it and they rejected. They got to it and stopped. So if for some reason we open above it tomorrow, then they can continue higher. But if we open down here where we are right now in futures, expect for that area to be pretty heavy resistance, because look at this move down. Let me zoom out a little bit here. This was the key to putting in the lower high and the lower low. This move here was 4,300 to 3,500, 800 point move from the 365, right? So can we reasonably expect that we could at least see half of that move, right? We got to half of it and then bounced and then got the other half. We could at least see a retest of what we talked about on Sunday, 39.40 area, which is heavy support area, support. Could we not see an equal move down back still under this 365? And they came up to trap all of the longs. Today they trapped all the shorts to get up there. The 50 trapped all the shorts, and the 365 is trapping all the longs to get us back down to 39.40. That is ultimately what I think, and it will be very low risk, because if we close a day, get much above the 365 day moving average, then I'm wrong, right? And then what we have, all we got to do is break this high, 4,200. Now I'm talking about SPX 4,200, not ES. But we break SPX 4,200, and then that breaks the bear scenario, right? That's all it's going to take. That's why they're pushing so hard, because all it's going to take is to break 4,200, and then we have low, high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, and then the bear market's over, right? That's why they're pushing so hard. They put 2% moves in a day, because they want to get over that 4,200. So interestingly, we are stuck in between this area, and there's a huge day for us to have an inside day tomorrow, so we could just chop around and do absolutely nothing, and then Monday we do absolutely nothing, and then Tuesday we do absolutely nothing, and then Wednesday Fed day is when we break it. But we have a big day for inside moves, which is junk. So don't trade tomorrow unless you're just taking like 10% profits. If for some reason we were to break 41.20, we could see a move down to, they're going to retest this candle low to see if those buyers are still there, so they can get help pushing it back up. They're going to get down here to 4100. So below 4120 to 4100 would be a short trade. Up above it, I don't really see a whole lot, but because we're just getting too extended at this point. If you look at the if you just look at this move, it's just too extended into junk, into resistance, right? We came into resistance and stopped, and we had pretty large volume, so I mean equal volume there, so we could just chop around and do nothing for the next 2 days, just like this. And then again, we've been in this channel where's rectangles, we've kind of just been whoa we've kind of just been in this whole area for a month. It doesn't feel like a month, but it's been a month that we've just been bouncing back and forth, down, up, down. Now we're going back up. So they could just pull back and do nothing the next 2 days. But yeah, so that's what I'm still thinking. Let's keep an eye on short moves. If you look back, if you notice something interesting this year, I was talking with my friend Ethan about this. You get these huge up moves. You get these huge spikes and then they're faded, right? These huge spikes and then they're faded. That's all the last few weeks has just been they're just, every time it pops, the sellers come back in. It pops, sellers come back in. Pops, sellers come back in. So, the weakness is still in there. The chart says bullish for the moment. But then again, we just have a shoulder, head, shoulder, and something like that, down to 39.40. But I don't think we can go much higher until we pull back to 39.40, and then we can start talking about, okay, then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we've got a lower high. Maybe then they can start really getting up there. But as of right now, if you go up too far too fast, it doesn't last. And then one thing that nobody remembers right now, if you look at stuff like breakouts, just don't work. They don't stay up. If you look at Amazon today, Amazon had a huge move. By the way, this number 123.18 has been on our chart for over a year, right? This line has been on our chart for over a year. And it's funny that we came all the way up to it. I was expecting a move in the opposite direction, but all it tells us is there's a lot of buying, panic buying in the market because everybody thinks we're bullish, but they all get faded, right? They all get faded. I think that's all I want to really talk about tonight. We'll see what tomorrow does. Amazon was interesting because we had this trend line. They gapped over it, they got back down. They got over it, and they sold back down. So, there's no follow through. If you look at IWM is doing the exact opposite. It's like down here. It's breaking down. So, here's a more clear chart here. Let's look at the weekly of small caps. That's just kind of hanging in there, right? We've got bear flag in a downtrend, and it's ready. It's like chopping down here in this area. It's ready to break down to make another move like this, an equal move like this. So, you know, small caps are what they call risk on stocks, that when people are feeling safe about the market. You know, here's something crazy. If you look at the volatility index, you know, I told you we broke this 5-year trend, and we're staying below it, but at the same time, small caps are in a bear flag. They're in a bear flag inside of a bear flag, right? The only thing that's holding up is this 365 week moving average, which doesn't necessarily mean anything. I don't know if it does or not. But it's just not. It doesn't fit the. It doesn't fit the what everything else is doing. Look at Dow Jones Transports. We talked about shorting UPS the other day. Totally forgot. But look at our line at 14,750. That's been resistance. It's still resistance, and we're not even close to putting in a new high. We put in a big red candle this week, while SPY is up here. There's like 6 or 7 stocks that are up, that make up 90% of SPY, and everything else is down. Something is not right. So I'll just be doomsday for now, and just keep saying until we break 4,200. Uh, 4210 in the ES futures. Until we break 4210, we're still in a bear flag. There just happens to be a couple stocks that are stronger in SPY than there are in small caps and Dow Jones Transports, right? So anyway, just wanted to say, feel a little defeated today, not catching that move. However, you know, we still have lower highs at the moment. Lower highs and lower lows. Right? Now you're arguing that this is higher and higher, right? It is. It's getting narrower and narrower. But I don't know. It just doesn't fit. Anyway, that's all I was thinking. ENVX did not do well for earnings. Still looks good for a long-term investment. If you're interested, of course, that's not going to work if the market crashes. But, you know, getting back above, especially taking out this candle, getting back above the $15 area, look to get in that one for a good move. It's probably a $60, $70 stock easily. So keep your eye on that one, ENVX. AI stocks, if you want to look at CXAI, this is really interesting. It just IPO'd. It, you know, completely crashed to $1. It's completely recovered, and, you know, arguably they're just making a flag. They're just flagging, right? So for another move, this curls up, and CXAI would be an interesting one to look at. BBAI, another one. It's kind of just flagging, you know, right? We had a pretty big strong down move but you know, we could see a pretty good move higher on this one. Again, this one was a newer stock, so the you know, there's no limit to the top. There is a limit. There's you know, $16, but I mean, it's 282 today. So even if it got back to 16, 282 to 16, that's a heck of a move, right? Look at this area of support. I drew a line. We've got some lines on our chart, right? This was support, support, support. We broke down and, you know, fell. Came back to it, and they're pushing it back up. They came to it and bounced. You know, they got back above it. They came back to it and bounced. So the expectation is if they were to get down into this number 240 area during the day and didn't just like gap below it, but if they got to it in the day, the expectation is that's a great buy area. So keep an eye on BBAI at 240. Last one is AI, C3AI. This one I took some long position just to see if it could break this little, you know, flag thing. See if it can break and get a retest of this area. But still, $17.50 to $20 would be a pretty good move. If you look at this one, you know, this does actually have higher lows and higher highs, right? We were in this downtrend for a while, right? This would have been your high. This is your low. That constitutes as a higher high. So this could constitute as a higher low. So, you know, we'll see. I don't know. The reason we were in it is because the weekly was flipping bullish over the 50 MA, but I don't know. We'll see. That's kind of broken right now. This area would be a major area of support around $16. If you get down in there, would be a place to add into a long position for a bounce higher. So I don't know. There's still some bullish stocks, and until they say the word recession, we're probably not going to do much. But just keep an eye on that. Last thing I want to see is bookmark. See if there's anything going on for tomorrow. Definitely have some support in the 4140 to 4145 area. And then you've got sellers at our 4160 guy starting to show back up, and 4170 guy is already there. So, you know, if we get to whoops, don't know what happened there. So if we open down around 4140, as long as we're above 4140, even down to, you know, you've got some buyers down here, but mostly 4145 to 4140, you know, that could be a potential bounce area up to 4170. So, you know, look for that. We still have a ways to go till we get to 4200, and that would mean the end of the bear market, right? So you got a pretty heavy support area right here, getting much below. I think I said earlier in the video, I said 4120 to 4100 would be a good drop. So really, if you can get below 4130 to 4100 would be a good drop. But again, we see that 4100 is a pretty strong area, right? 4100, they defended it pretty hard. They got below it, but you know, they fought it here, they got below it, and they just bought it back up. And when we broke out above the 4100 area, that's when the buying, you know, the panic buying came in. So, you know, it'll be hard to break that 4100 area. They would almost have to just gap below it, you know, come back down, possibly bounce, and then just open below it, and then the trap door can open. So we'll see. I just thought it was interesting that 365 on SPY. You know, I thought that was an interesting close, so I want to make a video. Thanks.